I hired a translator because I needed to understand my Chinese grandmother's last words after losing my Cantonese in the accident that nearly killed me when I was 22. The crash scrambled my mind, left me in a coma, and when I woke up I had to relearn everything, and though I eventually got my English back, my Cantonese vanished like it had never existed. So when my grandmother suddenly became lucid after 2 weeks in hospice and demanded to see me, saying she had a confession she could not die with, I rushed to the hospital with a translator by my side. The moment I sat down, she grabbed my hand and spoke rapidly, crying, pointing again and again at my wedding ring. The translator started listening, but her expression shifted from calm to uneasy, and when I asked what my grandmother was saying, she hesitated, telling me she was not sure I wanted to hear it, but I insisted, so she explained that my grandmother was talking about my wife Gwen, specifically how we met, and before I could understand why that mattered, the translator said my grandmother had paid Gwen to approach me years ago after the accident when I was drowning in depression, talking about ending everything. The translator said my grandmother had been terrified of losing me and hired a companionship service to send someone to befriend me, and that woman turned out to be Gwen, who was only supposed to stay 6 months, never fall in love, never become anything more. My chest felt like it cracked open because the woman I married, the woman I adored, might have only entered my life because of a paycheck, and suddenly all the little things added up, like the overtime Gwen had supposedly been working every Tuesday and Thursday, even though no extra money ever entered our shared account. I wondered if she had been seeing someone else, if everything between us was built on lies. My grandmother pulled out a faded receipt from under her pillow, the contract with the companionship agency signed 6.5 years ago, and the translator said my grandmother's final words were that Gwen loved me truly, deeply, and not because of money. But I could barely breathe, and then she passed away 15 minutes later, leaving me with grief and confusion. I drove home, and when Gwen tried to hug me, I couldn't. I told her everything, showed her the receipt, and she went pale before admitting that yes, she had been hired at first, but everything she felt became real, and she had been terrified to lose me. She cried when I accused her of lying about overtime, and instead of denying it, she went to our bedroom and returned with a binder full of bank statements from a separate savings account she had created with $20,000 saved entirely from her overtime pay. She said she was saving for a surprise for our upcoming anniversary, a down payment on the dream house I always said I wanted, the one with the kitchen where we would slow dance someday, and she laid the listing on the table, showing she had been secretly trying to build our future while I doubted her. She said she loved me since year one, that she stayed not because of an agreement, but because she could not imagine life without me. And when I looked at the evidence, the money, the house plan, the tears, I realized she was telling the truth. I pulled her close, finally understanding what my grandmother meant. Gwen loves you, really loves you, and I said I believe.